quorum, so I'm going to call the meeting to order. And we will start by standing for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge of Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you all for being here. We did not have a closed session, and so there's nothing to report. And our first thing we need to do is get the approval of the agenda. Give me just a second to pull it up.
One quick question while we're
Sure, please do.
back is if we want to pull something out from the consent agenda, do we do that at this point, or do we do that later?
We will do that. Yes, we can do that now. So,
And I do want to note that the letter we received does not relate to anything that's on the consent agenda.
Okay. Okay, thank you for that clarification. Then maybe we will cover that in public comments and
right. So we're going to start by approving the agenda, today's agenda. There's nothing that you're going to pull from that, Jack?
no, in that case,
Yeah. Is there anyone in the audience who have something they wanted to pull from the agenda?
You know, I'm sorry. I guess the item, if we call it the staff activity report, it does discuss what was relating in that email, but it's not a specific item on the agenda. It just falls under staff activity.
So is that grant report out part of the consent agenda then? Or staff activity report is separate?
Let's say staff activity report.
What's under staff activity? We could probably address the question a bit there without violation of Robert's rules or the Brown Act or something. Like, or no.
Yeah, we could do it that way, or we could talk about it under the consent and we could have it pulled, which would be agenda item 1.
Let's do
Okay.
that. In the interest of the fact that we received the letter.
Okay, so you want to, we're going to pull the staff activity report for a specific part of that.
Yes,
I'll make that number 1.
To approve the agenda with the pulling of that consent agenda.
I didn't see anybody in the audience saying anything else, so I'll second that. That's second. Okay, we got first and second. We say all in favor. Okay, we got it. That passes. So that will become number 1. So the next thing we got to do is approve. We got 2 sets of minutes to approve. Do we have? Start with the 8/23/22 minutes. Was there anything you needed to add or ask about?
I will abstain.
Abstain. Jack, anything in the minutes you needed to?
No, I don't need to add.
Was there anyone in the audience who had anything with the 8/23 minutes? Yes, ma'am.
Okay. There's some point early on that I get an opportunity.
Yeah, that'll come up. It comes up.
This.
Okay, I'm going to remind you when we get there. We're almost there. All right. So let's go back to the minutes. Then we're going to go to the 9/13 minutes. Anybody on the council? Oh, I'm sorry, Mike. Go ahead.
I had it written for the minutes, but David and I spoke, and he very graciously corrected them, mostly characterizing my concern with the STRs and we talked about last month. My suggestion was not that we get rid of all the regulations and everything. It was to say, look, we're always really hurting them. Well, some of us may be lucky enough to be getting through this. A lot of people are really hurting. So my solution, simply from the council at the time, was to fast track all 5, send them the Powerball, fast track all 5 as a special thing, not because it. So if you created that, great meeting with that, I really appreciate it. And he added Jennifer's comments too, which is why I'm concerned with it.
Thank you.
Some of the stuff in here before.
Thank you. Gabe, you okay? Okay. Yeah, good. All right. Then the minutes from 9:13, there were no changes. Okay. Anybody in the audience had any changes from the 9:13 minutes? Right, with that, sounds like we are ready to approve. Need a motion.
That's from, well, can I move to approve for 9:13? I can't move for 8:23. Do you want to just do one at a time?
Yeah, let's do the 9:13. He's going to enough to.
I'll move to approve 9:13.
Okay, I'll second that.
Okay. We will take a vote. We'll just do it verbally this time. And again, we have the 9:13 minutes. We're going to have to come back to the 8:23 next month. Okay.
Sounds good.
Sorry,
good.
I guess
That's right.
we don't have a quorum. Right?
That's right. That's okay. We can take care of that later.
Sorry. Update was calling in or no?
He relayed to us that he's unable to because it's traveling between one location to the other.
Okay, so the next item are council reports. So, Cheryl, do you have anything to report?
Maybe not at this time. I attended the planning commission, but we discussed some of the same general plan elements that were discussed at the last council meeting. So I don't think there's anything to.
Thank you. Jack, do you have?
And I do not have any reports to add.
Okay, and I'm just going to very quickly state that HCOG has met over the last months, and they've had very little going on. Most of it is about that we've heard about is the changes going on in our highway system. There's been very little change at this point, so there's not anything really to report. Hopefully, we'll find out more when HCOG meets next time. So I think we've got everything. So we're going to be on the staff report. So Eli, it's your turn.
Okay. So the staff report is in the packet. The first item is the candidates and Measure P form, which will be next Tuesday, October the 18th, 7 p.m. here at the town hall. The League of Women Voters will moderate, and the candidates forum will begin from 7 to approximately 8 p.m., followed by the Measure P forum, which will be approximately 8 p.m. till approximately 8:30. Anyone who wants to submit a question, it can be submitted to the league in advance at leaguehumboldt@gmail.com, or it could be submitted at the event in person here. Otherwise, as far as the water system, the creek level was 2.0 CFS, which is twice what we had last year. But we still encourage residents to conserve water. And Becky had prepared the project and grant report, which we can get into it when we get into the staff consent agenda item 1. So anyway, it's about 6 pages that she has reporting on various grants. That's all I have.
Do you have any questions? Well, we're going to move on. This is for Paula. We're going to move on to items from the floor. So if you have something you'd like to add, this is a good time.
Yeah, I think everyone should have to be a little bit updated. So when it's expanded to all the state grants that Trinidad has applied for or has accepted to increase housing. The grant, SB2, and including the roof grant. And the question is, can housing be increased when there is a moratorium on water pumps? Questions 1 to 6, and it's also posted in public comments. I think are relevant to all of the grants that the city has applied to relative to increasing housing. The bottom line is the appearance that grant money is being used to supplement the cost of paperwork and staff busy work that will have little or no effect on affordable housing. And that's explained more deeply in the more extensive letter that's posted in comments. As you all know, the city council repetitively voted to restrict the quantity of water available because there was a public outcry that wanted to limit any house. And that's part of the reason that the city chose the way it chose. So then it begs the question, why are we accepting these grants when there's no possibility of increasing housing? There's no water hookups outside the city. There's almost no land to develop in the city. Anyway, the letter I know is more extensive as far as questions, and the council or the city manager can answer those questions.
Would you like to respond?
Yeah, I could respond. I didn't know if we want to do it under consent agenda item 1, since you already said that you're pulling it, right?
So you want to get back to that
Yeah.
consent agenda, under
Right.
number 1?
Right.
Okay, that will come up as our number 1. Before I go on, I did forget to read something that I want to make sure is read to everybody for our items from the floor. The members of the public may comment on items not appearing on the agenda. So that may be actually appearing on the agenda, so we'll talk about it in a minute. Individual comments may be limited to 3 minutes or less. Please direct your comments to the council as a whole. Maintain decorum and avoid personal attacks on staff members of the council and or other members of the public. Council and staff responses will be minimal for non-agenda items. Thank you. So anybody else to have some item from the floor?
Sorry. You got copies? Good. You know, must be the same. I can just. Yeah, those are all you filed in the public comments, and we've all got this through your email already. I'd like to bring it in and just highlight the part that's really important. It's all important to me, but I tried to address it back in August with the rebuttal to my argument against Cheryl decided to be on the hook. And I included Councilman West and Calvin Tunnel because they had signed the rebuttal that Mayor Lavin was. And there's 2 issues I have with that. They're flat out lies. I wanted to get them addressed before it got published. Nothing happened, so I'm addressing them tonight. And specifically, it's the characterizations and mischaracterization on the website and in the rebuttal, against Measure P, saying the city sought to increase the TOT to 12% earlier in the year. No, it didn't seek to, it raised it. That's what started me on this whole process. And I put a lot of energy into it. And I fought hard for this. And that's why we had it on the ballot. It's fine. I just want to be completely honest. I don't know why we're not being completely straightforward on this. They raised it January 1st, 12%. I said, no, we can't do that. You guys rescinded it to 10%. I said, nope, you got to take it all the way back to 8% because we did the same thing. Tried to pass it by resolution. We didn't know what we were doing. So to me, it's like, well, sorry, thanks for helping out. Let's make it right. Not what we were considering. You guys passed it. So just be straightforward about it. Just honesty is always best, in my opinion. So then that was one thing. The second was, and it's a little more personal, that we've actually said the only signed proponent reference, which is me, the proponent against the tax wanted it decreased. No, I didn't. I never wanted the tax decrease. That's not what I brought to the council 2 times. That's not why you rescinded it. Didn't do me any favors. No, I very correctly demanded the city of Trinidad follow the state constitution and submit increases to the electorate. That was it. So those are 2 things I really wanted to clear up. They wanted to get published, they got published. Cleared it up to like, and that's hence the meaning. Like this, there's no reason for us to do misinformation on this issue. Straightforward. We made mistakes, we know what we're doing, we know what we're doing now, and we're fixing it. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have any more items from the floor? Seeing none, we'll move to the consent agenda.
And actually, before we get to consent, I was just informed that Lieutenant Josh McCall is on the call. So we can turn it over and see if he's available to make some comments regarding the police activity report.
Thank you. We have, are you there, Josh?
Yeah, can you guys hear me okay?
We can, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, so nothing too significant. I do have the stats for the city and obviously surrounding area.
Lieutenant McCall, can I interrupt a second?
Yes.
It is pretty weak. We can barely hear you. Do you think you could speak a little louder? I appreciate
Yeah.
it. Thank you.
Yeah, can you hear me a little bit better now?
No, we can't. They can't hear you out in the audience. Gabe's going to work on it real quick, see if we can get you a little louder before we go on. So hold on just a second.
All right.
I think it might just be his, whatever he's using. Let's try this. Go ahead.
Go ahead and try again.
Any better?
Much better. Can you hear out there, everybody?
Yeah, sorry. I had to zoom in from my phone tonight because I had another commitment that I was trying to balance here. So I apologize for that. Usually I'll try and do it from my computer if I have to zoom in. But all I have is the stats that were provided for the city and then the encompassing outlying area that falls under what we would generally refer to as Trinidad, even though some of this does fall outside the city limits. Stats for September. We're down from August as far as calls for service by about 10%. And corresponding to that, the reports and arrests and such were down. We had 15 reports taken for the Trinidad area for the month of September, 1 arrest, 4 felony investigations, and 6 misdemeanor investigations. With that was also kind of a reduction in the various calls for service of types. We had 1 assault, 1 either burglary from either a vehicle or a building, 2 general thefts, 8 general disturbances, 1 public intoxication, and then a handful of alarm calls, patrol checks, suspicious vehicles, and person type calls were all pretty much single digit numbers for the month of September. So all in all, pretty much every type of call for service and type of incident was for the most part down from the previous month.
Thank you. That's great news. And we appreciate you being here. Are there any questions from the council?
Yes, this is Cheryl. I just have a quick question. The area by the library and the community park has become a bit of a hot spot, and we have strategized about additional coverage. And Eli, our city manager, has been, working with me on that. I'm just wondering if you're seeing, if you're doing extra patrols there, or you're seeing challenges there. Just what you can share with us.
I'm not aware of anything specific to those areas, but I can definitely check in with the city manager, city clerk, and get more specifics on that. And if we have especially specific issues occurring in those areas, we can definitely pass that along to our patrol staff so that they know to kind of maybe pay some special attention to anything going on in those areas.
Yeah, we've had quite a few challenges there, so that would be great if we can coordinate on that.
We have someone up here says, Patty, you notice anything improving, or is it Getting worse?
It's worse. The gentleman that was evicted from Hidden Creek lived in the gazebo for several weeks with his and all of his possessions in the gazebo. And last week in front of the museum, people continue to sleep in the museum, even though we removed all the benches, not in the museum, on the museum porch. And with big cardboard boxes and beer cans, lots of cigarettes, and some ladies' clothing was on Saturday, was right before the fisherman's feast. It's consistently a problem of people sleeping on the museum porch and leaving belongings and beverage cans and bottles.
Thank you.
And Lieutenant McCall, just for your information, Patty happens to be the museum director, so she's there all the time, or at least half of the week she's there.
Okay.
Anything else? Oh, one more person. Mike Morgan?
Mike Morgan, sorry. Trinidad David Records candidate for council. While we have the sheriff, Eli spoke to already, Tyler, normal hike around the head of the meeting. And getting up to the cross, we had a very shocking thing happen. There was a complete full on, I guess like a witch circle, whatever you call it, with satanic images and a big swastika in the front of the cross. And about 12 dozen of these sort of satanic symbols, let's call it. So, of course, Tyler left it all off. It's something shocking in the community. I'm not naive. There's all kinds of people up there. But to have that, I've never seen it since I've been here for 17 years or anything like that. That blatant, and the community should be aware of it. Of course, I want to too. I didn't file a report. So, as long as it's good.
No, we got some more information for you, Bennett. Hopefully you can help us out in some way.
Yeah.
Okay, well, thank you very much for your report.
Thank you.
So we're back to consent agenda, and we have two items, number 2 and 3, the financial statements and the law enforcement report, which actually was just covered. So would somebody like to, was there any comment on, we're very business, you want to go ahead? We need to, somebody needs to make a motion to do something with it.
Yeah, I want to move to approve the consent agenda.
Right. We got first and a second. Gabe, why don't you go ahead and we'll do roll call on this.
So, yes, sir. Councilmember Tuttle first and seconded by Kelly. You get that right?
Correct.
To adopt the consent agenda as submitted. Councilmember Kelly. And West
Yes.
and Tuttle.
Yes.
Passes unanimously.
Okay, so we still wanted to address the staff activity report. Okay,
So that's,
so we actually had items 2 and 3 approved, and
that
now
was all, yes.
we're addressing item number 1. Yeah, yes.
Really good.
Yeah.
Okay.
So,
You got-
just to revise that, just approve consent agenda items
2 and 3.
3. Thank you very much.
Okay, so regarding the staff activity report, I don't know if we have Becky on the line. Pause for a moment, see if she's on there.
No,
Okay, she's not, okay, because I can't see the whole list.
that's right.
Yeah, so anyway, Becky, who was our grants administrator, had written the staff report portion regarding the grants. So specifically, Paula Levine was asking about any grants that are related to housing. So number one, we don't have a moratorium on the water hookup, so I just wanted to make that clear. We take it on a as-needed basis. We certainly had addressed it before with the request from the Rancheria regarding the hotel, but because of the size of the hotel, that we were unable to commit to. But if it is a couple homes here and there, we can consider those. As far as the housing, this is a planning grant, at least one of them that's referred to. And the reason that we have to go through that process, number one, it's for our community, it's part of the planning process. But number two, the state requires that every city address their particular housing needs. And the state also requires that cities put in a certain amount of housing. So we have to fulfill that requirement. And we do the study, and then we determine, how much we can actually handle in our city with the size of it. And we would have to report that to the state. In the meantime, as was noted regarding water, so if we are unable to provide water to a house, then that would be taken into consideration. So that would justify our response to the state that we could not fulfill whatever requirement they would want from us, because we could at that point be short of water, because water is one of the essential things that needs to be provided. But other than that, the grants themselves, number one, address the housing element that's part of the general plan. It also addresses the housing needs of the city, and it also addresses the state requirement of every city to address housing and what that city can do. And the state actually generally identifies a certain amount of housing units that they would like every city to increase by, because there is definitely housing shortage statewide. So hopefully that answers your questions.
Eli, do you know much about the general plan and the ADU policy that will be adopted?
Yeah. Well, the ADU, the ADU policy that the state requires is that, with every housing unit that have an accessory dwelling unit. And of course, you have to go by the square footage of that particular lot, whether or not you can have that. But that also would be part of the process that would be addressed. And then Cheryl was on the planning commission for a number of years. So you might want to add to all of that regarding housing and so on.
I'm actually just going to comment, hit the nail on the head, that the part of the planning was to address the state law that passed that all cities had to have a certain number of accessory dwelling units, and trying to understand what that inventory would look like in Trinidad, where it would be allowed, where it wouldn't be. It was factored into water planning. So if you look at the water capacity planning, that included a certain amount of ADUs. It wouldn't be a lot in Trinidad because we, to Paula's point, we don't have a lot of land, but just doing that assessment and looking at the zoning and the different properties. And then I think there was also a discussion in the planning commission about whether or not, we looked at all the different kind of building requirements. And so there's a cost associated with that for staff time and working with the planning commission on kind of what those parameters should be for an ADU in a town our size. And so I think there's a cost associated with some of that planning. So there are some things going on, and there are some build outs, a small amount that can be. And it's considered low income housing.
But the state specifically, yes, they would like to see affordable housing, but even beyond that, they want the ADUs, and they also want a certain amount of housing for every city. That's what they request. So as a result, we have to respond to that request. And generally, a lot of the things that were mentioned here would apply, meaning number one, we have limited available space other than if it's added to existing parcels. And number two, we have water limitations, which at a certain point, we wouldn't be able to provide for possibly all the housing need that the state might ask us to do.
Fiscally responsible. We do have a lot of grant money, and that's in the staff activity report. I think, at some point that could be even a separate topic. It's just sort of how do we look at, it's wonderful that we get all these grant opportunities. In fact, he's done a phenomenal job. And just, kind of looking at each one of those, and are we spending the money wisely, just because, we're lucky or fortunate, not luck actually, because she's worked hard, but looking at, making sure that we are being fiscally responsible. So I think it was 4 minutes for the community to figure out, who's looking at that.
Hopefully, probably answered your questions. I don't know if you have anything else.
Actually, we still have we have some comments. If anybody in the
Oh, yeah,
community
yeah.
would like to make a comment, feel free. Go ahead, Paul, if you'd like. I'll let Paul go. Yes, please. Yeah, so we get it recorded. Yes.
Just seems like a lot money. And given that there's such a restriction of Trinidad's capacity to because of the water, because of the limited space, would it make more sense to just communicate with the state, explain the situation, and ask for what's the limit searching for? Variance. Thank you. Ask for a variance, say. We're very limited in water. We're dealing with a lot of water issues. We are the tiniest city in California. We just don't have the capacity to add the kind of housing that the state wants us to add. So we don't really just question. I mean, we're talking about hundreds of thousands of dollars here. And I just wonder exactly where it's going. I understand conceptually, there's planning and whatnot. But the planning commission, it's not a paid, is it a paid position? The planning commission? What's the question? The planning commission is not a paid position.
No,
It's not a staff.
No, but the staff,
It's a big time. It's the staff that works with the planning commission. And I should say that I was referring to just the lead part of the grant. So I wasn't talking about SPT when I was talking.
So I guess I would need more specifics to really answer the question.
Thank you. Mike, go ahead.
Michael Hinchin, B&B, former captain. Took him in hand for planning commission chairman. Same path that Shell County taken. It's a good one. I don't think it started to be useful. I wanted to have the fire department have fire people in town and have Ocean Avenue property with a great big space. And I said, hey, I'll put you guys in here. Well, you can't do that. Mike, we need to have an meeting. What the hell's that? So, turned into the BDU ordinance. So I guess there's I mean a culprit. However, I hear what she's saying. It's very frustrating to see and hear, oh, we're going to put it on the website and stuff. No, that's not what it needs to address public housing specifically. The way I understood her letter, it should be addressing affordable housing. And whatever California law, it's affordable housing. And that's what we're lacking in. And we do have a lot of opportunities that she may not be aware of. And that our community is not aware of. I never heard anything about this. You want ADU units? I could probably put one. It just needs to be discussed in the community. And I'm afraid BDUs and ADUs are not too popular with a lot of our council, but they are a really good, easy way for us to expand, to house starting families, to house students, to house single people who are losing their homes, and help out. So I'd love to see you guys direct plan. And that's where they need to hear it from around this issue. See if we can spend some money just getting the word out. Say, hey, we've kind of changed a little bit. The state's forced us to change a little bit. We've got a space for this. Stop.
Thank you. Is there anyone else? Please.
Good evening, Sherry Paul. This is y'all. And I understand the importance of having to do a study. We all feel like it's so high, very little inventory for our revenues to be here, come here. So I understand the importance for this. I'm concerned not only with water that might be, and housing, but I'm concerned with wastewater. Sewer systems, so when you do have community, that means we have a separate sewer system and fish lines and site. Whatever. So in addition to water, all those issues that affect us to really say we can move forward, we can't move forward with 2 more houses or 10 more houses.
Is there anybody else who has any comments about this? Eli, just quickly, as we begin to go forward with these, with using this money for planning, it will start answering all these questions, and these things will get out to the public, right?
Exactly, and there be an opportunity for the public to weigh in further. Specifically, the one that I see that's is the LEAP grant, which in the description, it's $65,000. And this grant provides funding assistance to develop housing element policies and procedures that promote and accelerate housing production to meet the city's regional housing needs allocation. So that's where the state requires a certain regional housing needs allocation for each city. It goes on to say the grant will help the city meet state requirements to streamline the approval of housing, of affordable housing through development of policies that design standards, plans, and incorporate those into the housing and zoning ordinance. So, yeah, I mean, this is an important issue that needs to be addressed. And as was commented, yes, the planning commission doesn't get paid, but our staff does, and we contract with SHN that provides our planning services. And as a result, between them and the rest of our staff, this grant will help pay the cost of addressing the questions that the state needs answered and our community needs answered.
So these are state requirements that we need to go through. I know HCOG is really in charge of transportation in Humboldt County, but they've taken on housing as well because it's become such an important issue. So we all need to do our part to try to make sure we can do what we can within our own communities. And a lot of that state planning is paperwork and a lot that we have to do, and that's where the money's coming in so we can use it. So I think with that, is that everything for the staff activity report now that you want to cover?
Yeah, and then at this point, you can, have a motion.
That's what we're going to do. I just want to make sure you're finished.
Sure.
Okay. Do we have a motion to accept the staff activity report?
I make a motion to accept the staff activity report.
Second the motion.
Okay, good. Thank you. And Dave, could you give a count, please?
So Councilmember Tuttle and Kelly made a motion to accept the staff activity report, consent agenda item number 1. Start with Kelly.
Aye.
And Pro Tem West
Yes.
passes through nothing.
Thank you. And now we're moving on to the discussion action items. And our first item is the unmet transit needs public hearing. Eli, do we have somebody to come in and talk about this, or are you going to take?
Steve,
Oh, he's signed? Okay,
Okay.
very good.
he's on.
Yeah. So,
That's Steve Luther.
yes,
Are you there, Steve?
Hi there.
Great. Thank you. Loud and clear.
All right, great. So this is the annual Unmet Transit Needs hearing. I'm Stevie Luther. I'm the Associate Regional Planner with the Humboldt County Association of Governments. And this is a required hearing for the Transportation Development Act, which is a fund that goes towards public transit in the county. And annually, the Social Services Transportation Advisory Council will make a recommendation to the HCOG board on whether there are any unmet transit needs that are reasonable to meet. and that finding is required prior to releasing TDA funds for non-transit purposes such as streets and roads. So we're recommending that Trinidad open the public hearing and hear from the public, and I'm happy to answer any questions from the council. Thank you.
Any councilors have any questions for it? No, and I don't. So we're going to go to the public. Is anybody would like to make a comment about unmet transit needs? Does anybody have any suggestions for HCOG to make any types of changes, or anybody? Doesn't look like we're getting a lot of reaction, so it looks like there's nothing for us to report at this time.
I guess I'm sorry, I do have a question now.
Oh, we do have one.
This is Cheryl. Do you conduct any kind of surveys related to unmet needs? I guess my concern is that maybe, we in this room right now might not know, but there may be things that people would like to see.
Yeah, absolutely. To that point, we do have an online survey, and we also have flyers that are posted on the buses so that people that are riding transit can get access to that. So that's part of our annual solicitation of public comment. And there are also known unmet transit needs in the county that we commonly get comments on. And many of those don't meet the adopted threshold to be determined reasonable to meet. But we do continue to analyze those unmet needs through our regular public transit planning processes.
Is there any way we can parse it for Trinidad? Or...
Can you repeat that, please?
Is there any way to parse the data for Trinidad? So to pull the information for any feedback from Trinidad residents?
Yeah, I would be happy to provide that to your council. Just off the top of my head, usually we hear that they'd like more routes from Trinidad or more frequent service to get from Trinidad to Eureka. And so that's one that we do hear a lot, and it is a challenge to implement due to just the travel time and the number of drivers and the costs associated.
This is Jack Tuttle, Trinidad City Council. I had the pleasure of actually going on my first bus ride on the system about 2 weeks ago. I was picking up my brother Matt from the train depot down in Arcata. He was staying. He's disabled, and he was staying at Patrick's Point and camping there for a few weeks or 2 weeks. What he noticed was there really wasn't a way for him to get to Patrick's Point from downtown Trinidad. Also, wanted to also get down to the pier. Recommended to me to maybe have some type of shuttle to take people from the pier all the way to Patrick's Point, and then kind of do a circle to help move people around the local city and to see all the different parts of the Trinidad area.
See, when you have the bus route goes from Trinidad to Fortuna, is that right?
Correct.
And so we don't even go past, you don't go past Trinidad at all.
No, the Redwood transit system does not. There is a connection to the Del Norte County transit system to get up to Crescent City. I believe that connects in Arcata.
But there's no, I mean, we would be responsible for putting in a system that would provide that kind of transportation within the city. Is that right?
For points to such as Patrick's Point or like Big Lagoon Rancheria was another one that we got a request for last year. And yeah, there's no entity, goes into county jurisdiction. And so the funding mechanisms for starting up a new service like that would definitely be challenging.
What would it take in numbers to be able to do that?
You know, I would definitely have to look at the numbers. I don't have that information off the top of my head.
Thank you. Is there anything else you wanted to ask?
Thank you.
Anybody in the community have a question?
And I do see a hand up by Richard Johnson
Oh,
online.
thank you. Richard.
Thank you very much. And thanks, Stevie, for being here tonight. My name is Richard Johnson, and I'm a member of the SS TAC, who oversees the unmet transit needs process for HCOG. And I just wanted to reemphasize what Stevie was saying. This is a process which we do every year, and sometimes it looks very daunting and complicated, but it's extremely important that we get information from the public on what they want for unmet transit needs in the county. And many times it looks like there's no way that we can accommodate some of the requests, but as the requests become known, HCOG staff and the transit operators look at these very, very carefully. So I encourage everyone to ensure that they are providing their comments back to HCOG. And by the way, this is not the only time during the year that you need to make your comments. Feel free to give them to Stevie through HCOG at any time during the year. It's a very important process, and this is how we design our transit system for the future. And thank you very much for having this hearing tonight.
Thank you, Richard. And also, I'm the HCOG representative, so if people send something to me, I also will make sure it gets to HCOG anyway. So we want to encourage it because we're pretty far up here, and it's a long way to get out. It's nice to have transportation go. Michael, would you like to add something?
Just to follow on Councilmember Tunnel's suggestion, and a way to get sort of numbers. I don't know what has been done study to get onto Art, which is a lost city in this in Humboldt County. There's not some Trinidad to take on specifically. We're 1 square mile, very limited people need the bus. And Tyler's taken the bus for work before, and he's written both ways. And it's a challenge, but it's doable. I transferred and rode the bus all over San Francisco. Wow, it's to Patrick's point, to add the harbor in a loop, even on the quest, would be just a no-brainer. Instead of turning around my church, turn around the harbor. That's something we probably remember. Getting up to Patrick's point, that's 2 more miles, salvage the cost and ridership on that. They sit here for quite a while, we could just continue on and they probably take extra time, a few extra dollars in gas. But I would love to see them explore with or if they haven't. Contact them and see if there is that need to get up to work. And then that would help justify getting some more routes up here to clear that. I think the weekend was key days to talk about this a lot. And it seemed like our weekend service was always something that people that wanted to go to the farmer's market in Arcata or do their shopping.
Thank you. Anybody? Oh, Paul, please.
Off the top of my head, would it be cost effective and feasible? I've noticed oftentimes there's not a whole lot of people riding a bus. So would it be cost effective to have maybe a smaller electric vehicle? And I think that would inspire a whole lot more people to ride it because so many people are very concerned about of course, the climate and cutting down greenhouse gases. Maybe we could get a state grant for bus.
Paula, let me first say I was the only person on the bus going to Arcata the other day. But as I was going south, the bus was getting fuller and fuller, and to the point where there was no space by the time I got to Arcata. So, but I do love the idea of having a cleaner fuel bus.
Maybe with smaller ones, we could do, solve the frequency problem.
Right.
Steve, got some good ideas for you. Do you have anything else you want to add to this?
I really appreciate the discussion, and I would certainly be happy to come back to the Trinidad City Council with my analysis of these points and looking at the projected ridership numbers. And there is a proposal through one of the HCOG plans, the Mobility on Demand study, that looked at doing a sort of on-demand route from Trinidad to the McKinleyville Airport, where folks could use an app or call a ride when they needed it. And that would allow more frequency and potentially more mobility for people. So if that's something the council is interested in after going through this unmet transit needs process, I would be happy to prepare a presentation and discuss more transit solutions.
That would be terrific. I think we'd like that very much. So we will look forward to you getting back to us when you're ready.
Great. Thank you so much.
Thank you. I think with that, have discussed that. So we don't need to take any motion, move or anything. So we can move on to number 2. The discussion decision regarding councilman appointment to the Water Advisory Committee. Eli, you get to take this.
Okay. So the Water Advisory Committee was established by resolution in 2021. The membership consists of 2 council members, 1 planning commissioner, and a city, and then also 2 City of Trinidad water customers. Council member Cheryl Kelly took over the former position of Richard Plampas in January of 2022. And a current vacancy exists because of Dave Grover resigning in July. So we want to consider the second council member to be appointed to the Water Advisory Committee. Steve Lagwick was asked if he would be interested since he wasn't going to be at the meeting, and he indicated that his schedule currently doesn't allow for him to give the effort that he'd like to see on the committee. So basically, we have 2 other council members.
I'm just want, would you please tell us the meeting times, right? One of the meetings.
Well,
It's TBS, so it's to be scheduled. Eli and I, have been trying to schedule a meeting over the past month, but we decided to wait for this meeting to get another council member. But, typically we're meeting every couple of months. It's,
What times?
it's usually around 5 p.m.
Once a month.
Yeah.
yeah, and then we would poll the committee members to see what days would work.
I'd be interested.
Okay.
Join.
Great. Thank you.
You would be interested in having them.
That's terrific. Yeah, it's an important committee. I really would like, that would be really terrific. For you to be on there and bring us back some information. That'd be very nice. All right, Eli, you all set with that?
Yeah, that sounds terrific. It was easier than the arm twisting I thought we were going to have to do.
I'll come back to you, Eli and Anton. I had a proposed agenda, so I'll send it to Jack and then we can get something on the books as soon as possible.
Does anybody want any community comment on this? Yes, ma'am.
Who is the planning commission member who's on the committee?
It is Aaron.
It's behind you.
And then the 2 at-large customers?
Bryce Kinney and Dwight.
Okay.
Anyone else? Yes, ma'am. Go ahead. You come up here though, if you want to do that.
I would like the council to consider expanding the water advisory committee meeting and including someone in the sphere of influence, since 1/3 of the city board customers.
Well, that's maybe 2 city, here it says City of Trinidad water customers, but I think the intent, what they mean here is that they're not city residents, they're water customers of the city. So those 2 positions, one of them could be someone who's not a resident of the city, as long as they're a water customer of the city system.
Since, okay, well, Brett had expressed an interest in passing on his position to myself, so I'll discuss that with him.
Thank you. Any more comments? Okay, unless we're gonna thank you for Jack for joining the group, the water committee. We're gonna look at the 2022 general election update. So Gabe, I think you've got some information for us.
Stick here. Not too much to report, but I did want to keep the consistency going on this fun monthly ride we've been having since March. The election's coming up next month, and there's two updates. Which one of them is the one that Eli mentioned tonight. City Manager Eli mentioned the candidate forum. It's important. I don't need to go over that again. Eli covered it. There will be some publicity for it. It'll be on the city's website. It's considered to be a council meeting, since at least that's how we took it, that the council wanted to invite and make sure the council could all be there and they could speak perhaps if asked to, without violating the Brown Act. So there will be a public notice going out regarding this meeting next week, or this forum. And then the second comment I just wanted to make, this is sort of just here we go before the election comes up, is the voter information guide has been mailed to all residents. I'm pretty sure everybody has got them. I heard from a few people that they didn't, but I'm guessing they were mailed about a week ago. So that has been sent out. It should have all the information, and it's also up on our website. We've posted all of the arguments for and against, including the candidate statements. On the homepage of our website, one-click link, boom, everybody has access to it, even if you're not a city voter and you're just, kind of watching city news. So, and the final thing is that for anyone who wants to cast their ballots in person or drop off their ballots in person, I like to take my ballot to the county elections department and drop it off, and not drop it off at Ace Hardware or wherever they are. But Trinidad Union School is the polling place. And I was kind of concerned about that this year because their council meeting happens to be on that same day. So that night on the 8th, we'll be having, unless we change our thoughts on that, we're going to be having our council meeting in here, and then the polling place is next door. But since everything's vote by mail, I don't expect too much traffic. And I've had a couple people ask why that's the case. Why do we vote at Trinidad School? We used to vote in the town hall. That may change in the next year or two. It might come back to the town hall. And that had to do with the fact that the school had a legitimate ADA parking space in their parking lot, where the city did not have one at the time they did the audit. The parking space was out in the front street, and that didn't count. But as we all know, we just had some major improvements done to the city, Trinity Street here from parking perspective. So when the county does its audit, who knows, the county election department does its audit of the facilities, which they host polling places at. That might change in the near future, but it's at Trinidad Union School for anyone who's interested. Dropping off their ballot. That's it. Okay. Is there any questions?
Joe?
I just have a quick question about the, since all four candidates are here, it seems like a good time to ask this question. Are the League of Women Voter questions given to the candidates before the session, or as a surprise? Are the questions?
Yeah, it's a surprise.
Okay.
They will be receiving the questions. They'll be sorting through the questions. And then also the day of the event, people can submit a card with the question. And again, the league would sort through them and then pick which questions will be asked. So they're trying to get questions that go across the board and would concern all four candidates.
And then just if we could get the website updated for council.
Yes, and I'll just put this out there to the public now. I guess we had a website crash about 5 months ago, and it's been a little bit of a disaster, but there is information which I'm suddenly discovering because I guess it has to do with when they restored the website, not us. city, but our consultant contractor that hosts the site for us, they used an older backup. So as you notice, some of the information dates back to 2016, which is something that I've been fishing through for the last couple of days. Mr. Morgan brought up some things, some important items, such as our council meetings are the second Wednesday of every month, which they're not anymore. So I encourage anyone to catch it. I'm fishing through every page as we speak, trying to update those things. Thanks for that.
Okay. Yeah, there's a few other things I'll just send you.
Yeah, if you see them, just shoot me a message and say, hey, fix this.
Jack, you have anything to add? Any questions? I do not. Okay. Anybody from the community? Mike?
Grand candidate to Trinidad City Council. I just want to thank Gabe because I really give him a lot this weekend. And I appreciate you guys going out there and on for the league voters. Good job. You're still doing it right.
Yep.
Nice sign. I saw your sign. Good job. It's a really great path. We had a great slate of candidates. I'm very excited. I think all of us here got our hearts in the right spots and we're all doing a great job. So that being said, it's going to be one forum and answer one more question that you may have had. We get 1 minute. I can't do anything in a minute. So I told Eli, it's going to be yes, no. I don't know if I know later. But that's going to be an interesting dynamic for us. I don't know if you participated before. I'm really excited about it. I also have the council guideline.us. I have the same information. He gave us an output of the for Measure B, against Measure B, my rebuttal, my links to the vote. I think those are really important. They're hard to find. We gave them today. We have the links working, and it's still hard to find. I'm like, hey, where's the link? Please. They're up there now. Thank you again. Appreciate it.
Anyone else? Well, I hope we'll get the word out. This should be a interesting time. Let's get a lot of people here so they can come in and ask questions and find out a little bit more about our counselors. So please get the word out. I'd like to see a nice show.
And Gabe is showing on the screen where the general election information is.
Right in front of the city website here. I know this, I can't remove this section over there on the right of the participants. But here it's pictures. And it's right here. Anyone who's interested, it's just one click. And then here's where we're kind of archiving all this information. Anybody?
Thank you. And please, if you do get on the site and you find things, please let Gabe know because it looks like he's going to be busy for a while. So let's take some of the work off. All right. Okay, we've got a nice update. Thanks, Gabe. And thanks for everybody for participating. We have completed this. We're going to just go to future agenda items before we adjourn. So do we have any future agenda items that you're interested in?
I have a few, I think.
Okay.
But you can tell me. So one was I wanted to get an update on the water plant, and we could potentially do that at the Water Advisory Committee, and or but what I'd like to see, I've been getting a lot of feedback. I just reviewing, what are the contractors doing? How is that handoff going? The budget associated with it. So I'll stop there. That's topic number one. See what you guys think.
And I didn't watch it. We've been asking some of the same things to get that on. I thought we were going to have a sense. I think we shortened this with Steve not here. So that will come up next month, probably.
On the city council, and then
I've been trying to put some information, in the staff report, which I had last month. And then I didn't have anything new to report, but I will include it next month.
Okay. And then maybe we'll do a deep dive. Maybe we'll do a deep dive at the Water Advisory Committee as well. The second topic I have is a little bit more potentially esoteric, but I think it's bears discussion. And that's, I've been thinking a lot about the oversight role of the city council as it pertains to things like grant spending, as it pertains to water plant management, and even as it relates to having an emergency contact, for example, for if we have an earthquake or a tsunami or what have you, what's the city council's responsibility? So I guess it's a roles and responsibilities discussion. City council members and the city manager. So what's the city manager's responsibility? What are our individual and collective responsibilities? So, because when I know when I'm getting questions about who's looking deeply at, budget and expenditures, at water plant management, at, again, not to be redundant, but, what happens in an emergency? Who's responsible? Who's the go-to person? And it's not super clear to me right now. So it's a little bit more of a strategy discussion or a planning discussion, but I think we need to think about getting that on the agenda. I do want to talk about the website at some point. I think Gabe is doing a smashing job with the resources he has, but it's been, I've been collecting feedback from the community for 3 years now that the website and the communications capabilities that we have with the community are not kind of up to par. So I think we need to kind of take a good hard look at that. Maybe we're not devoting resources to it, IT wise, right? So that's my third one. So you can tell I came back from summer vacation.
You're ready to go.
Yeah.
All right, thank you. Jack, do you have anything?
Not at this time.
Okay. I certainly agree with what we're hearing about the website, so that would be nice. I just a second, like, yeah, you're gonna be next. And I did talk about the water, looking at the new tank, some other water issues. So we did call about that, and we'll be getting more information soon, but that should come up as well. So thank
we'll
you.
definitely look back to it.
So, Mr. Morgan, go ahead.
Just a real quick follow up to Charles' concerns about emergency services. You can talk to Tom. Getting back around with the fire department, we got all the FEMA stuff. Started getting in place up here that's now here. The fire department is actually pretty up SOPs, standard operating procedures. Got a CAL FIRE right there. So that's a good place for development with you. Not the first gave on this too. Look, you guys not here very often. You guys are here. That's our go-to. We're going to be on the road.
Thank you. Is there anybody in the community, please?
Hi, Aaron Hagan, as you have a resident, and to speak there, I'm speaking as a resident tonight. Just two suggested agenda items for the future. One I brought up in the past, actually both, I think, kind of traffic calming measures on the surface streets in town. Tourist season is over. We can all breathe a sigh of relief. But school season's open again now, and there's a lot of traffic running around. And so I think there's an opportunity for the collective streets and the surface streets to have some traffic calming measures. Personal opinion, I've heard raised in the past about emergency vehicle access. As someone does it for a living, we'll get where we need to go. That to me is kind of like a false argument. So I'd just like to see that brought back and then taken where it needs to go within the staff or planning commission. The second issue is I'm pleased to see an increase in law enforcement presence in town. It seems to be kind of point source, but I'd like to challenge the council with some oversight on our contract for services with the sheriff's department. We pay, I think it's $126,000 a year. I think I saw when I pulled the contract for services today. And the document's a little bit vague as far as what we're supposed to get for it, what routine patrol looks like, those types of things. So I just think there's an opportunity for us to kind of better understand what we should be getting and then see if we're getting that. If not, go through the provisions that are in here with the city council. I believe there's supposed to be some folks that can meet with them here. So that's it. Thanks.
Thank you. Yes, Paula, go ahead.
I'd like to see a discussion on locating the position of the mayor amongst the city council members.
I can respond to that briefly. With the election coming up, the city ordinance requires that with each election, general election every 2 years, the council have that discussion and determine amongst themselves who the mayor will be for the next 2-year period. Certainly, it can. We always have it on the agenda as a selection of mayor, so the public has an opportunity to chime in. But there's no limitation on one person who may be the mayor at this 2-year period to continue. It's up to the full council to
to decide.
And that system can be changed from perhaps 2
Sure.
years to 1 year or be a discussion of changing. Is it an ordinance?
It's an ordinance. But it can, any ordinance can be changed.
Discussion.
Thank you. I am, is there anyone else who has any comments? I think we've covered everything. So with that, I'm going to adjourn the meeting. Thank you all for coming.
I'm very interested in conserving the water, is doing water retention and just, you know, I really want to get. Yeah.
I want to thank you, Carol, for pushing Jack and make some motion.
Yeah, it can work for us. Like, okay, what the right wording to say?
He's going to be done.
Yeah.
Yeah, next person. It's a little hesitant.
Yeah.
You're doing it. Yeah.